The kingdom of Valerian lay beneath a blood-red moon, its towers casting long, jagged shadows across the land. Magic pulsed through the veins of the kingdom, ancient and dangerous, yet powerful. Among those touched by this magic were two sisters, twins bound not only by blood, but by a rare gift, the ability to sense and influence the energy that flowed through all living things. Leora, the younger by mere minutes, had always been the quieter one. Thoughtful and careful, she studied the ways of magic, learning to respect its dangers. Selene, on the other hand, was bold and ambitious. She sought power with a hunger that Leora could never understand. And tonight, beneath the ominous glow of the moon, Selene's ambition would cross a line Leora could never have imagined. They walked together in the forest that bordered their family's ancestral estate, the trees whispering with the wind. The air smelled of earth and magic, a heavy, intoxicating scent that made the hairs on Leora's arms stand. Selene's eyes glimmered, reflecting the moonlight, her smile sharp and knowing. "Tonight will change everything," Selene said, her voice soft but edged with a coldness that made Leora pause. "What do you mean?" Leora asked, unease creeping into her chest. Selene's smile widened and she stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Do you not feel it? The kingdom is weak. Father's rule falters, and you hesitate when it comes to claiming what is rightfully ours." Leora frowned. She had never sought power. Her life was simple, guided by care, caution, and the knowledge that magic demanded respect. But Selene had always hungered for more. And tonight, Leora realized, Selene's hunger had turned into something dangerous. The sisters reached a clearing, the moon casting a red glow over a circle of ancient stones. The air shimmered with magic. Leora's heart pounded in her chest. She felt the energy before she saw it. The magic that had been in their blood for generations now darkened, twisted. "Selene, what are you doing?" Leora asked, taking a step back. "This is the only way," Selene said, her voice unwavering. "Tonight I claim what should have been mine all along. And you will help me whether you want to or not." "No." Leora's voice trembled, but she stood her ground. "This isn't right. We can't use dark magic. It can destroy everything." Selene laughed, a sound that sent shivers down Leora's spine. "You always were weak, Leora. Always afraid to take what you deserve. But fear is useless now. Tonight I rise, and you will fall." Before Leora could react, Selene raised her hands, and the air around them twisted, curling like smoke. Shadows stretched across the clearing, forming shapes that whispered promises of power and doom. Leora tried to resist, calling on the magic she had studied, but it felt wrong somehow, as if the forest itself recoiled from the dark force Selene commanded. Selene's eyes glowed. "I'm sorry, sister," she said softly, almost kindly, though her words carried a knife. "But you cannot stop me. The kingdom will belong to me, and anyone who stands in my way, anyone who doubts me, will be crushed." Leora's chest tightened. Her mind raced. She had always loved her sister, had trusted her above all else. But this was not Selene. This was someone she didn't recognize, someone who had turned ambition into a weapon. Suddenly the shadows surged, wrapping around Leora like a living thing. She struggled, calling upon every lesson she had ever learned. The forest screamed in protest, leaves rustling like a chorus of ghosts. But Selene's magic was stronger, darker, and relentless. With a final surge, Leora was thrown to the ground. Pain shot through her body, but she managed to roll aside just in time to see Selene disappear into the shadows, leaving her trembling in the moonlight. The forest seemed to sigh, the wind carrying whispers of warning. Leora's heart sank. She realized what had happened. Her sister had betrayed her, not just for power, but for something deeper, something Leora could not yet understand. Her family would believe her guilty. Her home would turn against her. And Selene? Selene would stop at nothing. Hours passed. Leora wandered through the dark forest, her thoughts heavy with grief and confusion. She could feel the magic in the trees, in the soil, calling to her, offering comfort and danger in equal measure. She had always been careful with magic, but now she felt its pull more strongly than ever. The forest seemed alive, guiding her, whispering secrets of hidden power. Eventually, she came upon a clearing unlike any other, a place where the moonlight seemed to gather, forming a soft silver glow on the ground. There, waiting silently, was Kale. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with eyes that gleamed like obsidian. His presence was commanding, the kind of presence that made the air itself seem to bend around him. He wore a cloak dark as midnight, and his movements were precise like a predator watching its prey. But when his gaze fell on Leora, there was a flicker, curiosity, recognition, something that softened the sharp edges of his authority. "You shouldn't be here," Kyle said, his voice deep and controlled, carrying the weight of command. "I have no choice," Leora replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "My sister. She betrayed me. She wants to destroy me." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Celine." He spoke the name like it was both a warning and a curse. "I know what she is capable of." Leora shivered, though not from cold. She could feel the power radiating from him, the strength that seemed to draw the magic from the air itself. And yet in that strength there was a promise, protection, safety, something she had not felt since the betrayal. I don't know what to do," Leora admitted. Her voice broke, the first tear sliding down her cheek. "She has everything, and I have nothing." Kyle took a step closer. "You are not nothing." His voice was steady, unwavering. "The forest has brought you to me for a reason. You are stronger than you realize, and together, we might have a chance." Leora looked at him, hope mingling with fear. She did not know if she could trust anyone again, but something in Kale's presence felt different. Not like her sister, not like the people who had always sought to control her. Kale's strength did not intimidate, it offered a choice, fight or fall. "You will need guidance," Kale said, "and protection. If Celine believes she can destroy you, she is mistaken, but she will not stop." Leora swallowed, the weight of her situation pressing down on her. What do you want from me?" "Nothing. Yet." Kale's eyes softened just a fraction, revealing a hint of something deeper beneath the Alpha's exterior. Only survival. And in time, perhaps something more. The forest seemed to hum around them, magic thick in the air, holding its breath. Leora realized that this encounter was no accident. She had been cast into darkness, betrayed by her own blood. And yet here was a man who could help her rise again, perhaps even reclaim what had been stolen. But just as a sliver of hope entered her heart, the wind shifted. From the shadows, a whisper traveled through the trees, a voice she knew too well. Celine's laughter, soft and cruel, carried on the wind. "You cannot hide forever, sister," the voice said. "I will find you. And when I do, everything will burn." Leora's heart froze. She looked to Kale, eyes wide with fear and determination. "We have to move," he said, his hand brushing hers briefly, a silent promise of protection. "There is no time to hesitate. She knows we are here." The red moon hung high in the sky, its light casting eerie shadows over the forest. Leora felt a strange mixture of fear and exhilaration. Her life had changed forever, the bond of trust with her sister shattered, and yet for the first time since the betrayal, she felt the stirrings of something powerful, a chance to fight back, to survive, to rise. Kale led her into the deeper forest, their path lit by the flickering magic that seemed to bend toward them. The night was alive with danger, but also possibility, and as they vanished into the darkness, the whisper of Celine's threat lingered, a shadow on Leora's heart. The fight had only just begun. The forest grew darker as Leora and Kale ventured deeper, the red moon above fading behind drifting clouds. Every rustle of leaves, every distant cry of an animal set Leora on edge. Yet for the first time since her betrayal, she felt a measure of confidence. Kale's presence was steady and unyielding, a shield she could rely on, though it also stirred emotions she did not yet understand. Kale led her to a small valley surrounded by jagged rocks. In the center flowed a river that shimmered with silver light, reflecting the faint glow of her own awakening magic. "Here," he said, "we can train safely for now. The forest still watches, but it is less hostile here." Leora knelt by the water, cupping her hands to drink, letting the cool liquid wash over her skin. The forest whispered to her again, and she realized that her magic was growing stronger. She could feel it in the pulse of her heartbeat, in the tingling of her fingers. The shadows around them responded subtly to her presence, shifting and bending as if acknowledging her strength. Kale approached, his boots silent on the rocky ground. "Good," he said, nodding. "You are learning faster than most, but power alone will not save you. You must learn control, focus, and patience, and most importantly," his gaze softened and Leora felt her chest tighten, "you must trust yourself. And me." Leora met his eyes, struggling with the emotions swirling inside her. Trust was not easy. She had been betrayed by the one person she had loved without question, her own twin. Yet here was Cale, a man of unmatched strength, asking her to let go of fear and follow him. The thought made her pulse quicken, though she would not admit it aloud. "I'll try," she said finally, her voice steady. "I will try to trust you." Cale's lips curved into the faintest of smiles, rare and fleeting. "Good. That is all I ask for now." The first lessons were simple, testing the flow of magic through her veins. Leora moved stones, shaped water, and drew energy from the earth beneath her feet. Each success bolstered her confidence, though Cale reminded her that real challenges lay ahead. "Celine will not wait for you to be ready," Cale said one evening, as they practiced under the dim light of the moon. "She will strike without warning, without mercy. You must be ready, not just to defend yourself, but to fight for what is rightfully yours." Leora's hands clenched into fists. "I will not let her win. I will stop her." Cale studied her silently for a moment, his gaze penetrating. "You will have to. And you will have to face things you never imagined. Things that will test not just your strength, but your heart." For days they trained together. Cale taught her not only to harness her magic, but also to understand the discipline of combat. Even simple tasks like focusing her energy or controlling her emotions became exercises in willpower. And through it all, the bond between them deepened. Moments of closeness, fleeting touches, and shared glances created an unspoken tension that neither could fully name. One evening, as they practiced near the glowing river, a sudden shadow flickered at the edge of Leora's vision. She turned sharply, heart racing. "Celine," she whispered. Kyle's eyes narrowed. "Stay calm. She is testing us. We must not respond in fear." But Celine did not speak. The shadow dissolved as quickly as it had appeared, leaving only a faint echo of malicious laughter drifting through the trees. Leora's pulse quickened. She had hoped that distance would keep her safe, but her sister's reach was longer than she had feared. "Why is she doing this?" Leora asked, voice tight. "Why me? Why now?" Kyle's expression darkened. "Because she knows your bloodline is stronger than hers, and because she fears you." Leora's heart twisted. Fear? Could her sister truly fear her? She had always been the quiet one, the one who never sought attention. And yet Celine, with all her ambition and cunning, feared her. That knowledge brought a strange sense of pride, though it was tempered by dread. As the night deepened, Cale guided her to a small alcove beside the river. "Rest," he instructed. "Tomorrow will be harder." Leora sank to the ground, letting the silver light wash over her. She thought about her sister's betrayal, about the fire of anger and grief that still burned inside her. And yet she also thought about Cale. The way he had stood by her, guided her, and believed in her. Something shifted inside her chest. A warmth she had not expected. A feeling that was both comforting and frightening. The next day their training became more intense. Cale taught her to shape magic into forms that could defend, attack, and even heal. Leora struggled at first, her energy unstable, but Cale's guidance was patient and firm. "You are stronger than you think," he said, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "But strength without control is dangerous. Do you understand?" Leora nodded, determination burning in her eyes. "I understand. I will not fail." Cale's gaze lingered on her for a moment longer than necessary. Something unspoken passed between them, a recognition of courage, of resilience, of potential. And though neither spoke it aloud, both felt a stirring of emotions that went beyond trust or alliance. That night, as they rested beside the river, the wind shifted again. A faint glow appeared in the trees, not entirely natural. Leora tensed, magic flaring instinctively in her hands. "Celine," she whispered. Kyle's eyes hardened. "Yes, she is here." From the shadows, Celine emerged, her dark cloak flowing, eyes gleaming with a dangerous light. "You are improving, little sister," she said, voice dripping with mockery. "But do not think it will save you." Leora's heart raced. Fear rose again, but this time it was tempered with the resolve she had built over days of training. She stood taller, shoulders squared, eyes fixed on Celine. "You cannot frighten me," she said firmly. "I will not let you control me anymore." Celine's lips curved into a smile that was more cruel than kind. "Control? Oh, Leora, this is more than control. This is destiny, and you are standing in my way." Cale stepped forward, placing himself between Leora and Celine. "Enough," he said. His voice carried authority, a command that made the air itself seem to tense. "You will not harm her." Celine laughed softly. a sound that echoed through the forest like a warning. "We shall see, Alpha, we shall see." The tension was unbearable. The forest seemed to hold its breath, magic rippling through the air like a storm about to break. Leora felt Kale's hand brush hers as he moved closer. A brief contact, yet it sent warmth and courage through her. She realized in that moment that they were more than allies. They were bound by something stronger, a connection that had begun to grow in the crucible of danger and trust. "You cannot stop me," Selene said finally, her eyes blazing. "And one day, you will both fall." With that, she disappeared into the shadows, leaving only silence and the lingering echo of her threat. Leora's heart pounded in her chest. She had survived the encounter, but she knew it was only the beginning. Selene's ambition, her power, and her hatred were far from spent. Kale placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You did well," he said quietly. "But remember, Selene will not give up. We must continue to train, to prepare, and soon you will face her again. Stronger, wiser, and ready." Leora nodded, determination hardening in her chest. She would not allow fear to control her. She would not let her sister's betrayal define her. And with Kale at her side, she felt a courage she had never known before. A courage that would be tested, a bond that would deepen, and a power that was just beginning to awaken. As they watched the river shimmer in the moonlight, Leora knew one thing for certain. The path ahead was dangerous, the trials relentless, but she was no longer alone. And in the distance, the faint sound of Selene's laughter lingered, a reminder that the flames of forbidden trust, rivalry, and destiny were far from extinguished. The journey had only grown more perilous, and the first sparks of trust and something deeper were beginning to burn between Leora and Kale. The forest was alive with tension. Every rustle of leaves, every shadow that flickered across the ground seemed heavier than before. Leora and Kale moved silently, side by side, their senses alert. The red moon, now hidden behind clouds, cast only faint light through the trees, leaving everything in shadow. "You feel it, don't you?" Kale said quietly, his eyes scanning the darkness. "She is close. Selene has brought her full strength tonight." Leora swallowed hard, but she did not step back. Instead, she focused on the magic thrumming inside her, the energy she had nurtured over the past days. Her hands tingled and shadows near her shifted as if acknowledging her presence. "I feel it," she said, voice steady. "But I am ready. I won't let her win." Kyle's gaze softened for a moment, a rare expression of pride passing over his face. "Good, that resolve will keep you alive, and it will keep you strong." They reached a clearing, larger than any they had encountered before. Ancient stones formed a rough circle, etched with runes that pulsed faintly in the darkness. The air itself vibrated with power. Leora sensed that this place had once been sacred, a site of battles and rituals long forgotten. "Here," Kale said, "we will face her. And you must remember, strength alone is not enough. Control, focus, and courage will decide the outcome." Before Leora could respond, the shadows in the clearing twisted and coalesced into a form she recognized instantly. Selene emerged, her dark cloak flowing, eyes glowing with unnatural light. Her lips curled into a smile that made Leora's blood chill. "You have learned well," Selene said, voice dripping with mockery. "But you are still weak, little sister, and tonight I will prove it." Kale stepped in front of Leora, his presence solid and commanding. "Selene," he said, voice low and dangerous, "this ends tonight. You will not harm her." Selene laughed, a sound that seemed to ripple through the forest. "You think you can stop me, Alpha? You are strong, yes, but she is mine to destroy." Leora's chest tightened. Her sister's hatred was palpable, but beneath it she sensed fear, a fear of what Leora could become. That thought gave her courage. She straightened, her hands glowing faintly with magic. "You will not control me anymore," she said, voice strong. "I am not afraid of you." The first attack came swiftly. Shadows surged from Selene, forming sharp tendrils aimed at Leora. She dodged instinctively, the energy in her hands flaring to life. She called on the forest, on the power she had nurtured, and the shadows recoiled. For the first time she felt the full weight of her strength. Kale moved beside her, his sword flashing with silver light. He intercepted attacks, deflecting shadows with precision, protecting Leora as she grew more confident. Their movements became a dance of power and trust, each relying on the other, each testing the limits of their abilities. Selene's eyes narrowed. So, she is learning, but not enough. With a wave of her hand, the ground beneath Leora trembled, roots and vines twisting to trap her. Leora's heart raced as the magic threatened to overwhelm her. She struggled, calling upon every lesson Kale had taught her, focusing on her breathing, her heartbeat, her inner strength. Slowly, the vines loosened, responding to her will instead of Selene's. Kale's eyes met hers. Good, keep focus. Do not falter. They fought like that for what felt like hours, Selene attacking with dark magic, Kale defending, and Leora slowly learning to wield her own power with precision. Each time Selene struck, Leora felt fear and anger rise inside her, but she channeled it, shaping it into strength rather than letting it control her. Then, in a moment of silence, Kyle spoke quietly. Leora, you are ready for more. Trust yourself and trust me. Together we can end this. Leora nodded, and for the first time she felt a calm determination. She reached out with her magic, not to fight but to bind, to contain Selene's energy. Light and shadow collided, the forest trembling under their power. Selene's eyes widened, a flicker of panic crossing her face. What are you doing? Selene hissed. Leora's hands glowed brighter. I am taking control. I am not yours to harm, and I am not afraid of you. The energy surged, the forest itself responding to Leora's command. Roots, vines, and streams of magical light coiled around Selene, restraining her. She struggled, but Leora's power was steady, focused, and true. Kale stood at her side, his presence reinforcing hers, his strength giving her courage. Selene's eyes burned with fury and fear. You think this changes anything? She shouted. You cannot stop what is coming. One day, one of you will pay. Leora's heart raced, but she held her ground. No, she said firmly. Not today, not ever. We will survive, and we will stop you. For a long moment, the forest was silent, the shadows still. The only sound, the faint hum of Leora's magic and Kale's steady breathing. Then, with a final scream of frustration, Selene's form dissolved into the night, retreating into darkness, leaving the clearing empty but charged with lingering tension. Kale lowered his sword, his eyes softening as he looked at Leora. You did it, he said quietly. You controlled your fear, your power, and you stood your ground. I am proud of you. Leora felt a strange warmth in her chest. Pride, relief, and something else, a feeling she could not yet name, mingled together. I couldn't have done it without you, she admitted. Kyle's gaze lingered on her, steady and intense. You could have, he said softly. I only guided you. The strength was always yours. The closeness between them was undeniable now. A bond forged in battle, trust, and shared struggle. Leora felt a flutter in her chest, an unfamiliar but welcome warmth. She realized that Kale's presence had become more than protection. It was comfort, guidance, and something deeper. But even as they shared that quiet moment, the wind shifted. From the far edge of the forest came a faint, echoing laughter. Selene's voice, distant but unmistakable, carried on the breeze. This is far from over, sister. And when the time comes, one of you will not survive. Leora's chest tightened. The threat was real. Selene had retreated, but she would return, stronger, more determined, and more dangerous than ever. Kale placed a steadying hand on Leora's shoulder. Do not dwell on fear, he said. We will be ready, together. Leora nodded, determination burning brighter than ever. She would not run. She would not hide. She would not allow her sister's ambition to destroy her, or the kingdom she was destined to protect. As the red moon began to rise again behind the clouds, Leora and Kale stood together in the clearing, the night alive with magic, danger, and possibility. She could feel her powers growing, the bond between them strengthening, and a courage she had never known before igniting in her heart. And in the distance, Selene's laughter lingered, a reminder that the trials ahead would be harsher, the dangers greater, and the choices more painful. But Leora was ready. The alpha and the twin sister, bound by destiny and trust, faced the night together. And though the shadow of betrayal loomed, the spark of hope, and something far more profound, burned brighter than ever. The final confrontation was not yet over. Selene would return, and when she did, Leora and Kale would be waiting, stronger, united, and unyielding. The forest was alive with whispers as Leora followed Kale through narrow, winding paths. Shadows danced across the trees, and the wind carried a strange electric charge. Each step seemed to pulse with magic, the kind that could either protect or destroy. Leora's heart beat rapidly, fear and determination twisting together like tangled vines. Kyle moved ahead with a quiet confidence, his presence both comforting and commanding. Every so often he glanced over his shoulder, making sure she was keeping pace. Leora noticed the way his eyes scanned the darkness, alert for any sign of danger, and she felt a strange mixture of awe and unease. This man, this alpha, was unlike anyone she had ever met. Strong, decisive, and unyielding, yet there was something beneath the surface, a depth she could not yet understand. "You will need to learn quickly," Kyle said finally, breaking the silence. His voice was steady, firm, but there was an edge to it that made Leora sit up straighter. "Celine will not stop. She will hunt you with everything she has. If you cannot defend yourself, neither of us will survive. I don't even know where to start," Leora admitted, her voice trembling. "I've practiced magic, yes, but what Celine did..." It felt impossible to resist. Kale stopped and turned to face her. The moonlight caught the sharp lines of his face, revealing a subtle softness in his gaze that surprised Leora. "Impossible only exists if you give up," he said. "You have power in you, Leora, stronger than you think, but you must be willing to face the fear inside yourself." Fear. Leora knew it well. Fear of her sister's betrayal. Fear of failure. Fear of the darkness she could feel stirring within herself. She had always tried to suppress it, to hide it beneath calm words and careful actions, but now it pressed against her like a living thing, demanding acknowledgement. They reached a clearing dominated by a large, ancient tree whose roots twisted into the ground like serpents. The air shimmered with latent magic, and Leora felt a pull she could not explain. Kale gestured for her to step closer. "This is where you will begin," he said. "The forest itself will help you awaken your true strength, but only if you let it." Leora hesitated, her gaze moving between Kale and the glowing roots of the tree. "How?" she asked. I don't know if I can." "You must trust yourself," Kyle replied. "And trust me." The words struck something deep within Leora. Trust had been shattered the moment Celine betrayed her. Yet here was someone offering her guidance, protection, and a chance to reclaim her life. The thought was frightening and exhilarating all at once. She nodded, steeling herself. Kale instructed her to place her hands on the tree's roots. The moment she did, a warmth spread through her fingers, climbing her arms and settling in her chest. The magic was alive, vibrant, and it resonated with something inside her, a heartbeat she had never noticed before, strong and steady. "Feel it," Kale said, his voice low. "Do not fight it. Let it flow through you. This is your strength, not Celine's, not anyone else's. Yours." Leora closed her eyes and breathed deeply, focusing on the pulse of magic. It was difficult at first, chaotic and wild, but gradually she felt a rhythm, a connection between herself and the forest. Shadows curled around her, but they did not harm her. Instead, they seemed to respond to her will, shifting and bending with each breath she took. Kale watched silently, his eyes sharp. "Good, very good. Now extend it. Reach beyond yourself. Call upon the energy you share with the blood of this land." Leora did as he instructed. She could feel the roots respond, lifting slightly from the ground as if acknowledging her presence. Energy surged through her, and for the first time she felt not like a victim, but like someone who could fight back. But just as quickly, doubt crept in. "What if I fail?" she thought. "What if Celine is stronger than me?" The shadow of fear threatened to pull her under, but Kale's voice cut through it. "Do not let her control you," he said firmly, stepping closer. "She is your sister, yes, but she is also your enemy now. Your only choice is to survive and to grow stronger." The words ignited something in Leora. She focused again, pushing past the fear, letting the magic flow freely. Sparks of light danced around her hands, illuminating her face in the dark forest. When she opened her eyes, she saw Kale studying her with a mixture of respect and something else she could not name. Pride, perhaps, or maybe relief. "You are learning faster than I expected," he said, "but this is only the beginning. You must be ready for what comes next." Before Leora could ask what he meant, a sharp rustle echoed through the trees. She tensed, and Kale's hand moved to rest lightly on the hilt of his sword. The forest seemed to hold its breath. "Celine," Kale muttered under his breath, his eyes narrowing. Leora's stomach dropped. She had hoped she had outrun her sister, at least for a short time. But Celine's presence was always closer than one could imagine, a shadow lurking at the edge of every path. "She will not stop," Kyle said, his tone grim. "Not until she gets what she wants." "And what she wants?" Is you, Leora swallowed hard. The thought of her sister hunting her relentless and merciless made her chest tighten. Yet standing beside Kyle, feeling the pulse of magic within her, she also felt a spark of courage. For the first time since the betrayal, she believed she might survive. Kale led her to a small hidden clearing deep in the forest. A stream flowed through it, glowing faintly with magical energy. Here, he said, we can rest for a moment. You need strength if you are to face what is coming. Leora knelt by the stream, dipping her hands into the cool water. The liquid shimmered, reflecting the moonlight and the glow of her own magic. She watched the ripples and felt a strange sense of peace. For a brief moment, she allowed herself to hope. You are different from anyone I have ever met, Kyle said quietly, sitting across from her. His dark eyes were fixed on her face, searching. Strong, yes, but also unyielding in a way that surprises me. Most would break under what you have endured. Leora felt heat rise to her cheeks. She was not used to compliments, especially from someone as imposing as Kale. I don't know if I am ready for this, she admitted. For any of it. Ready or not, it is coming, he replied. Celine will not wait. But strength is not only about power. It is also about heart, courage, willingness to face what frightens you most. Leora considered his words. She thought of the fear that had paralyzed her in the forest, the betrayal that had shattered her trust, the shadows that still haunted her nights, and she realized something. Courage was not the absence of fear, it was the decision to act despite it. I will try, she said finally, her voice steady, though her hand still trembled. I will not let her win. Kale nodded once, a small gesture of approval. Good, that is all I ask for now. And soon we will need more than courage. We will need strategy, skill, and unity. You and I, we are bound by fate in ways you do not yet understand. Leora looked at him, curiosity and unease mingling in her gaze. Bound? What do you mean? Kale's expression darkened. You carry the blood of the kingdom in you, Leora. Celine fears it. That is why she betrayed you, and that is why she cannot be allowed to succeed. The weight of his words pressed on Leora. She had always known her family's bloodline was special, but she had never understood the full extent of it. And now, standing beside Kale, she realized the truth. Her life was no longer her own. The choices she made, the battles she fought, would determine not only her future but the fate of Ilarion itself. The night deepened around them, the red moon hanging high and ominous in the sky. Leora felt a mixture of fear, anticipation, and something she could not name, a flicker of something warm, protective and strangely comforting, radiating from Kale. Before they could speak further, a sound cut through the forest, the soft, deliberate crunch of footsteps on the fallen leaves. Leora's breath caught in her throat. Kale's hand went to the hilt of his sword. They are close, he said quietly, his eyes scanning the darkness. Celine has eyes everywhere. We must move. Leora rose, her heart pounding, but this time fear was tempered with determination. She met Kale's gaze and nodded. Whatever awaited them, she would face it. She would not run. She would not hide. And she would not let her sister destroy her. As they vanished into the shadows of the forest, Leora felt the first stirrings of a new strength within her, a spark of courage, a pulse of magic, and a bond with Kale that she did not yet fully understand. And somewhere just beyond the trees, the whisper of Celine's laughter followed them, promising that the trials ahead would test every ounce of their will. The journey had only just begun. The night was heavy with silence as Leora and Kyle prepared themselves. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the trees swaying gently as though aware of the storm that was coming. The red moon hung high in the sky, casting an ominous glow over the clearing where the final confrontation would unfold. Kyle stood beside Leora, his posture tense but composed. The bond between them had grown stronger with every shared trial, every battle, every quiet moment of understanding. She could feel his presence like an anchor, steady and reassuring, and it strengthened her resolve. You are ready, Kyle said quietly, his eyes scanning the shadows. Tonight this ends. No more running, no more fear. Celine will face the truth, your strength and the bond between us. Leora drew in a deep breath. I'm ready, she said, voice steady. She could feel the magic thrumming through her veins, the lessons Kyle had taught her merging with her own instincts. She would not let her sister's betrayal define her. She would face Celine, and she would win. The shadows shifted, coalescing into a familiar dark form, Celine emerged, her cloak flowing, eyes burning with fury. You dare stand against me again? She hissed, her voice sharp and cold. You think your little tricks and your alpha can save you? Leora stepped forward, her hands glowing with magic. This is not about tricks, she said firmly. It's about what is right. And I will not let you harm anyone else, Celine. Especially you. Celine's lips curled into a cruel smile. You think you can stop me? You are still my sister. You always will be. Kale moved into position beside Leora, sword drawn, the silver blade gleaming under the red moon. She is no longer your victim, he said firmly. And you will not touch her. The first clash was sudden. Selena's magic surged forward like a living wave, dark tendrils lashing at Leora. She met the attack with her own energy, her hands radiating a bright, steady light. The forest itself seemed to respond, roots twisting to block and contain the shadows. Kale intercepted Celine's other strikes, his movements precise and controlled, each clash of power echoing through the clearing like thunder. Leora felt fear rising, as it always did in battle, but she did not let it take her. She remembered Kale's words. Strength is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. She focused, channeling her energy into a shield that expanded around them both, pushing back Celine's attacks. You are strong, Celine spat, frustration breaking through her calm exterior, but not strong enough. Leora's eyes met Kale's, and in that instant they understood each other without words. This battle was not just about magic, it was about trust, courage, and the bond they shared. Together they were a force Celine could not overcome. Kale stepped forward, striking with his sword, forcing Celine to retreat slightly. You cannot win, he said, voice low but firm. It is over. Celine's eyes blazed with fury and fear. Over never! I will not lose to you. I am your sister and you belong to me. Leora's heart ached at the words, but she did not falter. You are my sister, she said softly. But your choices have made us enemies, and I will no longer let you control me. The final clash came suddenly, a surge of magic and power that shook the ground. Leora and Celine collided, their energies intertwining, bright and dark, light and shadow. Kale moved to protect Leora, but she held her ground. Her magic stronger, more controlled, more alive than it had ever been. Celine screamed, a sound of rage and desperation as Leora's magic forced her to the ground. The shadows twisted and writhed, unable to escape Leora's control. And for the first time, Celine looked small, vulnerable, and human, not the unstoppable threat she had always seemed to be. You see now, Leora said, voice steady and calm. Your power alone is not enough. Strength without control, without heart, without trust. It is meaningless. Celine's eyes softened for a moment, a flicker of the sister Leora had once known. You have changed, she whispered, barely audible. I don't understand. Kale placed a hand on Leora's shoulder, grounding her. You have grown stronger, he said. And together we will stop her. Not with hatred, but with strength and control. Leora nodded, taking a deep breath. She reached out with her magic. Not to harm, but to bind, to contain, to show Celine the consequences of her choices. Light wrapped around Celine, steady and firm, yet gentle enough that it did not destroy. Celine struggled, but she could not break free. She looked at Leora, tears forming in her eyes. I only wanted to protect you, she whispered, her voice breaking. I thought I could guide you, keep you safe. Leora's heart twisted, remembering the betrayal, the pain, the fear. But she also felt compassion. She reached out her hand. I know you thought you were protecting me, she said softly. But this is not the way. We cannot let fear and ambition destroy what we are. Celine's magic faltered, the dark tendrils dissolving. She fell to her knees, defeated not by hatred or violence, but by understanding, control, and love. The love of a sister who refused to give up, and the bond of two people united in trust. Kale stepped forward, placing a hand on Celine's shoulder. It is done, he said quietly. You will not harm her again. Celine looked up at Leora, tears streaming down her face. I am sorry, she whispered. I was wrong. I see that now. Leora knelt beside her sister, extending a hand. It is not too late, she said. We can rebuild. We can heal. But you must choose to let go of the darkness inside you. Celine hesitated, then took Leora's hand. The bond of trust once broken began to mend, and the shadows that had haunted them all began to fade. Kale watched quietly, a proud smile on his face. He had guided Leora, protected her, and now he stood beside her as they faced the aftermath together. The battle was over, the threat contained, and the forest seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Leora rose, standing tall and strong. She felt the power within her, not as a weapon of vengeance but as a force of protection, of growth, of hope. She looked at Cale, and in that moment their connection deepened, unspoken but undeniable. They had faced danger, darkness, and betrayal together, and emerged stronger. Cale took her hand, his touch firm and steady. "You are remarkable," he said softly. "Not just for your power but for your heart, and I am honored to stand with you." Leora felt warmth bloom in her chest. "And I," she said, "am honored to stand with you." The red moon finally broke free from the clouds, bathing the clearing in its light. The forest seemed to shimmer, alive with magic and possibility. Leora knew that the journey had changed her forever. She was no longer the frightened girl betrayed by her sister. She was strong, confident, and capable. And she was not alone. Selene stood, finally free of the darkness that had consumed her. She looked at Leora and Cale, gratitude and sorrow mingling in her gaze. "Thank you," she said softly, "for showing me a different path." Leora nodded. "We all have choices," she said, "and it is never too late to choose the right one." Cale tightened his grip on her hand, and together they stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next. The bond between them was stronger than magic, stronger than fear, stronger than betrayal. And as the first light of dawn touched the forest, Leora realized that her story had only truly begun. The shadows of the past had been faced, the flames of rivalry extinguished, and the love and trust between them had been forged in the fire of trials. Leora and Cale, bound by fate and courage, stood ready to protect each other, their kingdom, and the promise of a future built not on fear but on strength, love, and hope. And for the first time, Leora felt truly free.